I want to welcome you to How to Help Youth Prepare for Employment While Still in School. This evening, we have two professionals joining us who work tirelessly at full-time jobs at different SELPAs. And SELPAs are special education local plan areas. I will also put a link to the chat about SELPAs if you're not familiar with what a SELPA is. And then after they have their full-time job, then they give more of their time willingly to advance prospects for successful outcomes for our youth's employment by helping to prepare students for employment while they're still in school. And they do this through their work on the Family Transition Network Committee of WorkAbility I and through transition partnership programs. Now, if you don't know what WorkAbility I and transition partnership programs are, you're going to by the end of this presentation. So please welcome Kristina Lewis, who's from the Mendocino SELPA. She's a program manager in WorkAbility I and transition partnership programs, and also a member of the California Transition Alliance leadership team. I will also put the link to California Transition Alliance in the chat, because if you don't know who they are, you'll also want to go and visit that site for lots of good resources. And Tricia Lomino of San Luis Obispo, SELPA program specialist. So, ladies, thank you for being here. Thank everyone else for being here. Thank you to Beatrice. And I'm going to stop sharing.
Great. Well, I will go ahead and share my screen. I am so happy to be here. I am in San Luis Obispo, a very beautiful place to live. And I'm so glad to have this opportunity to talk about workability, and also I'll be talking a little bit about We Can Work as well. And then Kristina will talk to you a little bit about her workability program, but also transition partnership program, or we call it TPP. And so I was fortunate enough to teach high school special education for 15 years before switching over to my role at the SELPA. And so now I get to be the supervisor. So I was able to work as a special education teacher supporting students with workability, and now I get to supervise the program. So I feel very fortunate in that. And Kristina, did you want to introduce yourself a little bit more before I dove in?
Sure. I'm Kristina Lewis, and I am the Workability and TPP Program Manager up in Mendocino County through the County Office of Education and the local Mendocino County SELPA. So we are serving 9 districts through our TPP program, 11 districts through our workability program. And my background is similar to Tricia's in the sense that I have about 15 years doing direct services to students, where I was a TPP specialist working with Department of Rehabilitation at the school-based level, connecting students in their last couple of years of school to what would be like a bridge from school to work and beyond through the TPP program. And in the last 7 years, I've moved into the management position, providing leadership to both workability and TPP programs in the county.
Awesome. I guess I should have said too, we're a multi-district SELPA as well. We have 13 school districts, and currently through workability, we're supporting 20 schools. So we're doing quite a bit of work out there. Okay, so let's jump in and we're going to talk about workability, then we'll move into TPP. We'll talk a little bit about We Can Work, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end. And so let's just jump right in. So workability I has been around for a very long time, since I believe it was the late 80s. And it is actually written into Ed Code for the state. It is a grant run program. And my SELPA we've had it for many, many years, and I've been doing really great things with it. And so each area, each person that holds the grant, it could be a district office that has the grant, it could be a county office, it could be a single high school or a SELPA. So there's many different ways that workability can look. So I'll talk a little bit more in general terms about workability, and then I'll give you some examples of how it works in our county, just so you have a better idea. And then I know Kristina can speak a little bit about how the more of the specifics of workability in her area as well. So it is a nationally recognized program. It's one of the best transition programs in the United States. I definitely sell that as well because I think we do amazing things. WorkAbility is very, very unique in that we are at the schools working directly with students. So there's a lot of different programs that are working with students, population 16 to 22. What makes WorkAbility so unique is we're right there in the classrooms, supporting and providing a lot of pre-employment skills for students before they go off into the workforce. And then we also have the opportunities to place them and get experience at job sites as well. And again, that's going to look a little bit different, the specifics in each area, but that is kind of the general overview of WorkAbility. And so really it is these are the expectations of WorkAbility that are laid out for us, is that there definitely needs to be collaboration, leveraging resources. It is supposed to supplement, not supplant. So it really is not a program that's supposed to be a standalone where you have students going to a WorkAbility class. It is really a program that is there to help support other types of transition activities that are already occurring. And so TPP is a little bit different than that, and Kristina will talk about it, but WorkAbility is just there as this is addition, right? So trying to provide more of those skills and more of those opportunities out in the workforce and not be its own standalone. So we are really a bigger part of this educational system. So we're coming into the schools and working with students at school sites before moving on to some placement opportunities at work. We definitely have a lot of accountability by the state. So we have a lot of measurements that we have to meet. We have, there's expectations that all of our funds get spent, that we place the amount of students that we say we're going to place. We educate the amount of students that we're going to educate. So we really work super hard to make sure that we meet all of those numbers so that we can keep our grant funding. And at least I know for our grant, we far exceed our numbers every single year. And so we would love to see more money, more, more everything. But what we have found is it's a very limited program as far as dollars. So we really, really rely on collaboration with other agencies and our school systems and our school districts. And so another big part about WorkAbility is we're constantly working on capacity building of everybody that's involved in the program. So there's a lot of professional development. We go to business meetings. We really make sure that we have high quality people in the WorkAbility program supporting our students. So here are kind of some of the program descriptions. We have this pre-employment piece where we're providing all those skills training. So really looking at like interviewing skills and resume building and all of those things that really every student needs to have, every 16 to 22-year-old student needs to have. And our students with disabilities, we're able to go in and provide some of this additional work with them. I'm really trying to get them ready for that job site. There's that educational piece. So we want them to continue to get their education while also developing marketable job skills. WorkAbility benefits many people. It benefits their students, but it also benefits our employers and our community. We have a lot of our students in San Luis Obispo. We are a smaller county. We have a lot of our students that are working in our small businesses, and it really makes a big impact. We have really great relationships with them. So not only is it benefiting the student, it also is benefiting employers and our community. And then we really are constantly seeking employers. We're seeking businesses, and we're letting them see that our students have amazing skills and that they are people that they want at their job site. And, trying to create opportunities to get some of our students that wouldn't maybe necessarily make it past that first interview, get their foot in the door to realize, wow, like the student is amazing. And this is somebody that I want to continue on even past the subsidized pay. And we're very fortunate that a lot of our businesses will We pay a little bit in subsidized pay, and a lot of our businesses will hire our students on permanently after that. So it really gets our students' foot in the door, get some of that training, and then they have the opportunity to continue if they can. So there's the two components in workability that we are focused on. We have this school-based component, and so really it's this integration of the school-based work learning. So I'll show you a list of some different activities that people that are involved in workability might be involved in. At my workability, we call them job placement specialists. Others will call them job developers. Some use the special education teachers to do a lot of the work, and so it's a little bit different. So if I say my job placement specialist, that is specific for San Luis Obispo County, but my job placement specialists, they're out in the schools and they are talking to students about work, getting them excited to participate in some pre-employment type skills. We do a lot of interviewing. We do a lot of writing thank you cards for post-interview, resume, you name it, all of those type of things that they need to do. Then the students really love the work-based learning component, and that's where we help either place them at a job where the employer is paying them directly, or we are able to provide subsidized pay. It is minimum wage. And so they are able to go and work a certain amount of hours. We are technically the employer because we are paying them and we're supporting them and helping them develop those skills. And then our goal is always to move them off subsidized pay, and hopefully the job site will hire them on as a direct hire. So that's always our goal. But we have students every year that are so excited to work, and we try so hard to place every single one of them. Our budget is a lot smaller, so we definitely tap into our other agencies for collaboration, and so do a lot of the other counties as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit with DOR, Department of Rehabilitation. So an example of some of the school-based activities that a student might participate with workability is really doing some type of assessments, figure out what type of career are they interested in. Do they like to work with customers? Do they like working inside, outside, with their hands? All trying to identify where would be a good fit. What is something that they might enjoy? That resume building, like I talked about, interviewing, job applications, job portfolios, searching for jobs, some self-advocacy lessons. How do I let people know about my disability and what accommodations I might need at work? And on and on and on. And then, a lot of specific things for students depending on what their needs are. So then we have this subsidized pay. And this is again where we pay for them to be at a job site for a certain amount of hours. It's the allotted hours are determined by that program supervisor typically of trying to make sure that we are being equitable and getting as many students working as possible. So usually is a lower amount of hours. And then we can tap into other agencies and resources to get them some continued experience. But it's really to try and get them at a job site, experience what is it like to have a job? What is it like to talk to a supervisor, to talk to customers, to follow some different tasks that are given to them at each workday, show up to work on time, all of these types of things. This is a great way for them to experience that. And then my job placement specialists or job developers or wherever they are can help troubleshoot when things come up. So if they're not showing up to work on time, why aren't they showing up to work on time? Are they practicing good hygiene? That's a big one for us, right? We have teenage kids here. So we're working on how should you present yourself at work? How do you shake your boss's hand? All of those type of skills that we don't always think about, but are so critically important. And so really with workability, what collaboration is a big piece of that. And we really tap into Department of Rehabilitation to be partners, to expand what we can be doing. Workability people and all the different workability programs throughout the state are doing amazing work. And we are so unique that we have access to the students at their school sites to be providing this type of work. And so really, if we can tap into Department of Rehabilitation and really keep advocating at the state to continue to grow our programs, I think we can do really amazing things even beyond what we're already doing. So I'm going to pass it off to Kristina to talk about TPPs, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit more about some contracts that we have with Department of Rehabilitation.
And
do you want to talk, Kristina, a little bit about what your workability looks like?
Yeah, just briefly, I can share, what Tricia mentioned about every workability grant and project looking very different depending on what entity, as far as a local education agency holds it. It's so very true. So she's in a similar place with hosting the grant through a county SELPA as I am, but even between our two projects and the districts that we are serving, she has a service budget of providers. When I was talking with Tricia of these what did you call them?
Job placement specialists.
Job placement specialists. Which in my case, just to give you some perspective of the array of methods that can be executed, is in Mendocino County, our County Office of Ed and SELPA, we hold the majority of the budget for a piece of administration and the behind the scenes administrative support to execute the grant. And we put as much into the student work experience and operating budget to support the districts, but the actual job developers for those students and those work experiences and all of those array of services are the district's designated special ed teacher at that school site. So it really comes down like this slide that we're on around collaboration. It's the district support of the program to really see it through to be a successful site. And those teachers take on the workplace readiness preparation, the job development in the community with the employers, the paperwork and the follow along for that work experience. And like Tricia said, we'll hold that employer of record, and internally we're processing payroll and all of those things in-house through the county office. But it really is an interesting collaboration and has wonderful successes, coupled with many challenges that we work through, the budget being one of those things that we're kind of every year really looking at how to maximize the impact to students with rising cost of living and staffing costs, with also rising minimum wage, which we want for our students, and how to provide as much opportunity to students as possible. So you may see different projects offering a different amount of hours for work experience. And so when Tricia talked about the collaboration with other agencies, when we talk about DORs, I'll start with TPP. It's so essential to really see the opportunity expand and be really successful for the students to get concrete soft skills and the hard skills to be successful for employer paid placement. So let's flow into the next slide, Tricia.
All right.
Okay, so the Transition Partnership Program, we refer to it statewide as TPP, is a collaboration between a local education agency. It could be a district, it could be a county office of ed, SELPA, and the Department of Rehabilitation, which is through the state of California. Next slide. And really this partnership is similar to the workability grant in the sense that it's looking to supplement the services, the transition services that are already required through the district, through the IEP process. And I like to think of it as like the vehicle to help these districts help execute and enhance those services for students. When I think of TPP and workability as well, I can't help but think of the student-driven planning component really being like the foundation for both programs to launch with the student as the driver of whatever that transition plan will look like. Starting early, I mean, we have an audience here of parents, and that early transition planning is so critical in just having those conversations, even if you have those preschoolers at home, the little guys, what their likes and dislikes are, having them just be able to convey what those interests are, what they might need help with. It's only going to help them be able to make those kind of executive decisions, have that autonomy and that agency of what their choices are as we start talking about work and what's next, and not looking in different directions of, who's going to give me that answer. They're going to know for themselves. So having those students as early as possible being a part of that IEP process. So when they come to our programs, they're going to say, here's where I am, here's where I want to go, and here's what I need to get there. Or maybe I don't know what I need to get there, but I know where I want to go. And then we can kind of come together to help say, here's a path, and here's a path, and here's how we can help you get there. Next slide. So TPP, they're considered a third-party cooperative agreement. And like I said, through our local education agencies and the Department of Rehabilitation. I pulled this stat off of their website, and I don't know if it's current. I'm assuming it is 104 contracts statewide. It might be a little bit higher now. They were developed in response to the amendments to the Rehab Act back in 1986. And so we're really looking at providing an enhancement and expansion of services that the school or WorkAbility already provides through 5 different services. They're called DOR student services to help prepare students for work and really serve as that bridge when services end at the high school level. TPP has an opportunity to extend beyond that graduation date and be what we would look at as a bridge to that next step. Next slide. So eligibility, a student that's enrolled in TPP also has to be enrolled in a public school system. So different contracts with TPP will have identified schools within their district or COE or SELPA that they are contracted to support. And that can change from year to year as agreements and partnerships are built, but it is specified in the contract. And then the student has to be between 16 and 21 years old. So we're serving those students from that, I think spring semester, sophomore year, we're starting those referrals at the school level, and then we're able to serve them through an adult 18 to 22 program. And there's a lot of services that can support these students in those final years of school. Eligibility around disability is, yes, you have to have a disability, an IEP, a 504 plan. If you even suspect that you have a disability, but you don't necessarily have documentation, DOR will help with assessment to provide some determination there. Typically through the schools and TPP programming, we usually see that through the psychoeducational evaluation and the IEP process. And then of course 504s as well. Next slide. So here's the fun services that TPP has to offer. They categorize them with job exploration counseling, workplace readiness training, work-based learning experiences, which includes additional paid work experience, which I'll talk about in a minute, counseling on post-secondary education, and instruction on self-advocacy. So to kind of go back a decade or so, TPP was originally designed to support students with a work-first model. And for many years, at least here in Mendocino County, we struggled with that because we did one-on-one support with these students. And we found that these kids wanted to go to college, they wanted training, but our scope of work was narrow in the sense we were here to help them get work experience and then help them get an employer-paid job. So we were providing all of these services to support post-secondary training under the radar, but we did it because we knew that was what they wanted to do to be successful and to be fulfilled with their goals. So it was 2014 when the WIOA, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, was revised to identify specific services that our local DOR needed to provide students. And so in response, TPP inherits those required services as well. And as you can see, they added not only counseling on post-secondary education, but we also were able to provide instruction on self-advocacy, be able to report all of these wonderful things we were already doing. So it has been an expansion from work to school to world, and whatever that looks like for students as far as training and employment goes. Next slide. So these are just some examples of what those categories, like what does that mean? Job exploration counseling. When you think of job exploration counseling for students, think of interest assessments, looking into the labor market, what jobs are in high demand, what jobs pay, what type of education is required for those jobs. Just reviewing that process of different types of work that's out there, whether it's in their local area or if they're planning to move out of the area, and understand what they need to do to get there. Post-secondary education counseling are all of those things about exploring a training program of interest, whether that's community college, university, a trade, apprenticeship, short-term training, those types of things of having someone to help them along the way, kind of put those pieces together and help navigate that process. It may include applying for financial aid, touring the college, understanding how to connect with disability resources at the college. So those are supports that have been highly utilized by our local TPP. Next slide. Work readiness training. So this is a big one. Our local TPP here really values the development of a career portfolio for every student who's exiting as a senior. And so that's generally under this category as far as how to get a job, interview prep, understanding, like Tricia already mentioned, how to be their best self and present themselves to an employer and to their community. Being able to understand how they're getting paid, how to take time off and ask for that, how to call in sick, all of those pieces. That's coupled with work-based learning, which in DOR's eyes, work-based learning includes things from a simple informational interview, talking to an employer about what their job is like, to actually being in the facility with a job shadow or a tour. It can be something like an actual work experience opportunity, an internship opportunity. Next slide, Tricia. With work experience, for our TPP, and I think many across the state, DOR is affording 300 hours of work experience for a student to be in a training plan with an employer and developing those skills to get and keep a job. It's non-binding, similar to subsidies through WorkAbility, but the idea is it's an expansion to what we already have to offer, and it's really been successful here in Mendocino because we have students who, you know, otherwise would have maybe 30 hours of work experience with WorkAbility. Our budgets can't necessarily help them throughout the full year to keep working on those skills they may need to work on. So when those students are in jobs, when they're looking at post-secondary education training programs, a big piece of what we provide is instruction and self-advocacy. And it's probably the biggest service we provide because it touches so many components of their life. Whether it's just learning how to communicate with an employer, understanding how to use their career portfolio when they're walking into the college to their counseling appointment, going in for a job interview, just being able to articulate and express what they need to be successful with an employer, with someone at the college that they're learning from, or just anybody in the community. It's a really strong piece of the program. Next slide. And then this is just a typical format of how TPPs are structured. Like I said, they are different across the state, but typically you're looking at a collaboration between your local DOR, which will have usually an assigned DOR counselor who works with TPP students and staff. Then TPP will have a service budget through that local education agency, which may provide one or more people to help provide the school-based services to whatever schools have been identified in the contract. And then our local education agency, in our case, is our County Office of Ed. We partner with those school districts we serve, and those special ed teachers who are designated to support the program also collaborate in providing TPP services. So they can be viewed as maybe doing more classroom instruction, while in our case in Mendocino, our TPP service budget staff do a lot of one-on-one pullout. They're providing the services in the community and are coordinating the job shadows and all those things to help support the student navigating their next step. Next slide. The family supported transition planning. So we talked about this earlier, just how important it is to have the family's input in those IEP meetings. When we're having those types of transition planning meetings, you're part of the IEP team, and your input and expertise as a parent is so valuable and really the foundation of the success for the student. You know, when we're looking at students who have dreams of, you know, moving out of state or going to school 8 hours away, you know, trying to put all those pieces together and really see what's a reality, how we can support that, and what that team looks like. The parents have been such an important role in just trying to get a good understanding of what that looks like and the impact to the home, and how we can help support the family in getting the student where they want to go. Next slide. So I shared here just a handful of links to some resources that are some of my favorites around transition planning that I feel for parents, this could be a really great place to start. These are also tools that our educators use. One, I know Alyssa already plugged the California Transition Alliance. We have a wealth of resources on our website through the Transition Alliance, and free, no cost to you. If you go to our website, you scroll down to the homepage, there's a subscribe, you know, stay on our mailing list option, where please put in your email, and we love to keep in touch about upcoming transition events that can help support you or the educators near you. California Career Resource Network has so many resources around career preparation for students as young as 5th grade. So there's videos, there's apps that students can have on their phones to just be exploring different types of opportunities, and really fun short videos that will engage with them. The Transition Discoveries Framework is out of Pennsylvania, and it's a wonderful website for families, students, and practitioners to understand some research-based elements that are indicators of post-school success. And then a plug for the Let's Work YouTube channel through the California Transition Alliance. This is a channel of students who were in the school system at one time. They're now young adults, and they are mentoring other youth through this YouTube channel. They also developed a networking guide in both English, Spanish, and I believe there is Mandarin. I didn't link that, but I can add that, Alyssa. For students to be able to kind of navigate what competitive integrative employment looks like for them and how to get there. Explore Work is through the Department of Voc Rehab for Voc Rehab Services, which we talked about. And then Alyssa's Connections California, Transition to Adulthood. So all worth a look when you have some time. Next slide. And this slide has a hyperlink here. If you're interested or curious if there's a TPP in your area, my suggestion is start with your school, ask your special ed case carrier if they know about a TPP. If they don't necessarily have an answer for you, this link here in blue will take you to a map for your local DOR office where you can get more information on who in your area has a TPP, but also you have the ability to sign up directly with Department of Rehab for DOR student services. It just may not be school-based in the same sense that TPP offers it. So there is certainly resources there for all of you in every which way. And I think that's it on my end, and I pass it to you, Tricia.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Kristina. So as you were talking, I looked up to see how many programs do you currently have with WorkAbility. And there's over 260 grants in the state of California. So it's not in every area, but there are quite a bit. So if you can definitely reach out to your school district or your case manager, whoever the special education teachers that's working with your child, to see is workability. Do they have workability in their area? Do they have a TPP? And find out some more information. And I was also looking too to see when it started in 1981. So we've been around quite a long time and working with our students out at our different districts throughout our area. So really, we just acquired our Week in Work contract. I'll talk a little bit about that. And what we found is that we have such a strong desire to try and serve and place every student in our county, every student that expresses with a disability that is expressing that they would like to work. We really wanted that ability to be able to give them that experience. And so we decided to enter into a Week in Work contract with Department of Rehabilitation and are very excited about it. More and more workability programs are establishing contracts. So it is expanding the work that we can do and the amount of hours that we can give to students to be getting that subsidized, supported employment. And so it is this partnership with the Department of Rehabilitation. It is to serve students 16 to 22 who have a disability. With workability, they have to have an IEP, but with Department of Rehabilitation, they can also have a 504. So it does expand the population of students that we can work with, which is great. So with that, Kristina talked a little bit about with the workability program, it is a limited grant with the type of funding and things that we can do. So you may have through the workability program, a student may get 30, 40, 50, 60 hours, somewhere around there, just depends on the program of subsidized pay. Department of Rehabilitation and the Week in Work contract has really expanded what we are able to do with students. So with us, our students are now able to get 300 hours, which is amazing. It's also helping them make this connection with Department of Rehabilitation, which is an agency that can help support them in adulthood. And so for us, that is a really big deal. For our students who not only want to move straight into a career, but college, whatever it is that they would like to pursue, Department of Rehabilitation can help support that in their adult life. And so with that, we are able to start making those connections, connecting families, while also getting them that experience while they're still in high school or in an adult program. So it really does increase this opportunity to get more students out there working and to get more hours for them at job sites. Just to give you an example, some of the job sites that we use, Smart and Final has been phenomenal. If you have a grocery outlet in your area, they have been amazing. Our small businesses, we have a big wine industry here, so there's a lot of boxing and warehouse type of work that our students have really enjoyed, especially our students that don't want to do anything customer service related. And lots of fitness, lots of gyms for fitness, you name it. We've had really great partnerships, and we've been able with the Week in Work contract to expand that. And get more of our students out there working. I make a joke all the time that we are single-handedly making sure that every position in our county gets filled by our student population. So if a business is saying they need a student, if they need an employee, we are jumping right in there and saying, well, we have the perfect person for you. And we have students who we place them in high school, and now we've checked back on them and they're in their late 20s and working there as managers, work their way up, whether it's a CVS or a grocery store or a private business, a veterinarian's office, you name it. So we have students that we've made lifelong connections for them. So it really gets the students started with this relationship with Department of Rehabilitation and finding out more about them and how they can support them once they leave the school system. it really creates this interagency collaboration, which is very important at the state level. So the governor did release his career education master plan, and it's really talking about how we can connect agencies together who are doing amazing work to really join together to build up this workforce, especially in our population, like with our students with disabilities. And so this is moving towards that direction. And it just increases those opportunities for our workability students too, to be also with additional funding, they can receive more hours because we have this additional funding stream. So really feel excited about where things are going with transition and these career opportunities for our students with disabilities in the state. I feel like we're really doing a great job of agency connections to get our students out there working, having these really fun, amazing, enriching experiences, so that then when they do leave the school system, they already can add so much to their resume. They already have so much to offer an employer, so much to offer a college that they're going to, whatever it is that they want to explore. And we really do rely a lot on the parents to help us get their student established and going. There's paperwork that's involved. You need social security cards. We need identification. There's a lot of things that we really do need parental support, help getting them to a job site, or helping us to identify, is there a bus that's near your home that we can help them learn how to take that transportation? And so that parental piece is a huge part. And I think that the workability TPP department, like working with Department of Rehabilitation, like we're doing a really great job of connecting people together to make sure that the students can have these really cool opportunities. And I know when we do our follow-ups with our students, their self-esteem has just skyrocketed. They are so proud about what they're doing, and they feel so connected to their community, meeting so many new friends, so many new people. I love the work that we're doing, and I hope it just increases, especially through these partnerships.
I want to thank our presenters, Kristina and Tricia. Thank you so much for taking your time and your energy and coming and educating us tonight. Thank you, Beatrice. We don't know what we'd do without you. We very much appreciate you as well. And we thank you, the audience.